Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio. Ours is a place where dreams take flight, voices are heard, and stories are shared. This is where cultures meet, connections are formed, and ideas are transformed into action. This is your destination for authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives, and meaningful conversations. We're where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover our world of education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our USA Global TV channel and download our USA Global TV app. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. With heartfelt thanks to our executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, music scored by Yifei Tang from Cloud Road Music, creative direction by Paul Garcia, and I'm Al Cini, and I'm very proud to be part of the USA Global TV and Radio family. So join us here at USA Global TV and Radio. Make us your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication, or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited. Thank you for being a part of our global community. Let's inspire together.
$142,000 subscribers to the USA Global TV and Radio Network. Pretty impressive. Congratulations, Dr. Jacqueline. The show today, The Wise Ones, is the second show that I do every Thursday. I do 3 of them back to back to back. And we're talking today with, generally speaking, an entrepreneur, in most cases an author, because it seems like most of them are both. But before we get started with that, real quickly, when I'm not doing my TV shows, I research the human body at the cellular level. Chemically speaking, I'll look for cause and effect relationships, treat a problem, and hopefully you can fix it. But if you're treating symptoms, you're never going to fix it, but the problem is still there, and it may definitely get worse. I specialize in longevity, age-related diseases. That's what I write about. That's what I speak about. I also help people get their books written. I've helped publish probably about 50 books total so far. And when I'm not doing that, I'm here on TV doing various things. Our first show is the Corner Bookstore. We're talking to authors. The Wise Ones, we're talking to entrepreneurs, business owners. And then the last show, Talking Heads, today I'll be talking about how you can improve your speaking ability to enter that world of the professional speaker. So that being said, I am going now to open up the stage to CC Robinson. Please join me.
Hey there.
Hey there. I like the hands. Very enthusiastic. And you have a great smile too, just beaming. So
thank you.
You're a writer, but before you were a writer, you were a medical doctor over in Africa and setting up nonprofits here, there, and yonder, and traveling around eating in places trying to figure out where the best food in the world was. So why don't we kind of start off on that vein, and then we'll kind of get into a little bit of the book world and wherever else we need to go.
Red, it's funny when you describe it like that. I actually sound like smart and fun and wise, and I'm like, in my mind, I feel like I just kind of meandered and fell into this or that. But yes, I am a medical doctor, a proud graduate of Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee, and right after graduating from medical school with my MD and Master in Public Health, my husband and I started a nonprofit because we really wanted to help the situation over first in Afghanistan, and then in Colombia, and then in Sierra Leone. All of these countries were impacted horribly by civil war. And we wanted to bring medical teams and be able to start clinics that would actually help to turn the tide of disease and maternal mortality and childhood mortality around. And we did that.
As I understand it, you love numbers, but you didn't love the numbers you were working with before you got your medical degree.
No.
So you ended up in a totally different world that took you to be a world traveler. But how do you set up a nonprofit? That's something that most people never do. So I guess you needed some help. Did your husband have some experience with that?
No, he's even less than me. So I came from a commercial lending background. So I banked different companies and middle market lending in Chicago. And that was my training in the business world, if you will. And I took that into the entrepreneurial realm and just kind of figured it out. That's the only way to describe it. And when you go through the whole process with the IRS, it is a lot. And there's a lot of steps and you got to do it right. And so after that first time, I knew what I was doing. And so I did help some other people start their own nonprofits, as well as helped our church start our nonprofit when we planted it up in Cincinnati. So that's knowledge and understanding that I'll never lose, theoretically.
So you set up the nonprofits. That means you had to actually
Mm-hmm.
go over there and do something. And in order
Yes.
to set up, you set up clinics, you set up. So was
Mhm.
Sierra Leone the first place you went to?
No, it was not. Actually, Afghanistan was. We took over an existing clinic, um, and it was in the season when the Taliban was surging for the first time in early 2000s. And unfortunately, we had to close that clinic because of just issues and death threats against the staff. Um, but then that kind of sparked the bug, you know. I was like, well, we can do this other places. And so we just started looking around the world. Where else can we go? And that's when we realized that Colombia, the nation in South America, not the South Carolina city, was experiencing its own civil war. And there were people up in the mountainous and forest regions that were experiencing complete poverty, lack of medical services. So that's where we went next.
Okay, so when you travel overseas, I was in the military
Mhm.
for a while. I always had to get shots, inoculations. It didn't matter. I mean, it seemed like even to the last couple of months I was in the military, I think I got a Japanese
Yeah.
encephalitis because I was probably going to fly to Japan from Germany. It,
Yeah.
uh, and I remember getting the anthrax series. That
Mhm.
was probably one of the most insidious of them all. But anyway, so I'm sure that you probably had to get all of these shots for all these places you had to go,
Yep.
malaria and dengue fever and who knows what else.
Hmm.
Um, so did you give yourself your own shot or did you? No, no, no.
No, 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 no. One, I'm a wimp. Uh, Two, I wouldn't have the formulations, and I don't actually never had a actual practice in America, so I wouldn't have had access either. No, I went like everybody else did to the travel clinic and suffered through the hepatitis series and the yellow fever and took the malaria prophylaxis and you name it. So yes, I am a literal pincushion.
Yeah, I remember going the hepatitis series. It seemed like it was almost like a glue, and I started rubbing them together like this to warm them up,
Yeah.
and it took forever because
Mhm.
when they stick you in the butt and they start to push that, it like 5 minutes to get that stuff into you. It's just an
Yeah.
interesting experience in life.
Yes. Breathe through it, right?
So you set up the clinics.
Mhm.
The property was already there, or do you work through some church group or some government entity or what?
We had many partners. The truth is, it takes a lot of people working together to build something like that. And so, yes, we had local partners. We would often work with churches who were already there in the community, had a reputation. Maybe they had a medical provider at one level of another, maybe a nurse practitioner, or a physician's assistant that had a heart to serve their community. And then we just find a building and work with people who own buildings, or most of the time when we were there, the district health services were not operational, and or they were beleaguered and overwhelmed. So oftentimes we would work with the official health services in the nation to serve more than what they could serve on their own.
Okay, so you're always looking for places
Mhm.
that had good electricity, nice air conditioning and heating, and good parking, all that kind of stuff, right?
What is that? Air conditioning? Running water? No, no, no. Bucket baths are awesome. Completely underrated.
Completely, huh? Uh, I noticed that when I was sending units overseas, particularly to Korea more so than to other places, we always had to get them stuff over there super early to clear through customs and all
Yeah.
that stuff. So I assume that the medicines and bandages and other
Mhm.
things that you needed had to be sent from the United States.
Or from a neighboring nation or a nearby nation. So in Sierra Leone, you mentioned that we found that sourcing materials and pharmaceutical supplies from neighboring nations like Senegal, even a couple over Ghana, was preferable to trying to ship from the United States just due to cost.
Okay, so you're over there in storage, I mean, security. How do you handle that kind of stuff?
Creatively.
Okay.
Creatively is what I will say. A lot of it depends on where you are in the world, but sometimes places don't have actual glass on the windows. And getting glass in a nation that's had a major civil war or emerging from that is problematic. So yeah, you have to get creative. You have to use different various forms of lock boxes and security measures, security guards, hiring however it is. It really depends on the local context.
Okay, and because all these places are located downtown, easy walking distance to the trains and everything else, tell us about your logistics experiences in some of these places.
Backup pickup trucks going through roads bombed out with holes as big as a VW bus. Going into the bush, praying that nothing breaks. I mean, that was normal, absolutely normal for anyone working in Sierra Leone after the Civil War. We definitely had it because our clinic was located what should be, as an eagle flies, 90 miles. So, in America, that'll take you maybe an hour and a half driving. The first time we drove it, it took us 12 and a half hours. So, yeah, and you've got some challenges there.
I totally understand what you're saying because when we had a hurricane come through Houston not long ago, we had to evacuate. And what used to be a 2-lane road became a 4-lane road going in one direction because people were driving on the shoulder. And a 1 hour, hour and a half trip took us over 12 hours. So I can appreciate, I feel your pain. So it was interesting. So you have a lot of these experiences, but you write dystopian young adult. Is this part of the mindset for writing that book or?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me how that.
It absolutely is. And it makes total sense in my mind. And now let me help you make it make sense in yours and for your listeners. I have seen people survive their own version of the apocalypse. I've seen them work together afterward. I've seen them forgive even the worst atrocities. I've seen them move beyond it to rebuild a society. Therefore, I know that whatever that thing is out there that we're fearing, the worst possible dystopian society, I know that the human spirit cannot be defeated. And I know if we work together, if we fix some of the things that are broken in our society, that maybe we can prevent us from getting there. But even if we do get there, perhaps there's a way through it. And that's what I want to convey in my books is hope, courage, and survival.
It's interesting. You mentioned the word fear a minute ago, and I was just mentioning to my wife, I was reading, just finished a book actually, and the person as part of their training, they were enclosed in a cage, but the cage was filled with water, but they could always breathe by putting their head up and breathing. But as soon as they put their head down, they're below the water line. And the whole thing was they couldn't drown because they always had access to water, but it was the fear that they could drown that was the driving factor in their psyche and their mindset. And they had to overcome that fear because it was something that they created their own dilemma. But the mere fact that they had the ability didn't make any difference. You had to really and truly believe you had that ability. So when you look at the people, the cultures, and they're forgiving other people, that is a true belief that, okay, I can forgive you. Is that true?
Yeah, that is absolutely true. You make a great point about the mindset, the importance of our mindset in that. Like they had to first realize that it was possible for them to survive forgiving this other person. Like sometimes we think if I forgive them, my world's going to fall apart because then, what they did was right, or I'm saying that by forgiving. That's not the case. When we forgive someone, it actually makes us free from the burden of that bitterness and holding that negativity. And people need to trust in that in order to get to that place of forgiveness. So what you're saying is absolutely true. It is a first and foremost, what do we believe about this? And then what's our mindset? And then how can we reframe that to get to that outcome that we want?
Did you develop this clarity from your church, or is this something you've kind of grown to see and accept because of the examples you've come across?
I think it's been developing over the course of the last like 25 years. I'm not exactly a spring chicken anymore. And, I've lived some life and realized that, life is really too short to hold grudges. And, that's probably, if you talk to teenage me, that was my default. Anger, grudges, all of that. And just all that negativity just doesn't help. And so it's taken me maybe a lifetime in growth and possibly being confronted by other people and then having to work through offense on my own, even as a pastor. Pastors can get offended too. Um, and so I've come to it over the course of a lifetime, I think.
It's interesting when you're dealing with different cultures and,
Mhm.
and what they believe because of their experience in this location at that time. And you
Yeah.
said they had civil wars, and obviously they may or may not have known, or let's say the local tribe or the indigenous population, or whatever. You have different factions in there, and it may
Mhm.
be military, maybe a lot of different things. Taliban, you
Mhm.
mentioned earlier. Um, and you don't know somebody in that Taliban, but you might. And now all of a sudden you
Mhm.
want to forgive somebody. You're talking a major step up in the creation of you as a human being. That's something that
Mhm.
most of us really never do.
It can feel very vulnerable and threatening to go down that path. But I would just encourage people to do it, to do the hard work and to get to that place of forgiving because the joy on the other side is so much better than the bitterness we cling to beforehand.
Okay. So as a medical doctor for a short period of time
Mhm.
in Afghanistan, for a reasonable period of time in Colombia, and
Mhm.
for some time there in Sierra Leone,
Mhm.
uh, what was probably the most miraculous thing you saw while you were there?
Oh, that's easy. Hands down, I saw a man be healed of blindness. He'd been blind for a very long time. And I was inside doing my what I need to be doing as a doctor, seeing patients, and all of a sudden I hear yelling outside. And so of course I have to investigate. And I go out and the team has prayed for a man to be healed from his blindness and God healed him. That I like as a medical doctor, I have nothing to treat blindness over there. Like one, I'm not an optometrist or an ophthalmologist. I'm not a surgeon. I'm clueless. Like I don't even have eye drops. I can't do anything. And to see God move in that way on behalf of this man, just it was so impactful for me because I couldn't do anything. I'm helpless. I'm powerless, but God's not.
The miracles we see, sometimes we take for granted, but you as a medical doctor, that
Mhm.
was something that was much more so than just
Mhm.
somebody else in the family. And so that had a bigger impact on you. And you saw
Yeah.
these not all the time, but I'm sure enough to say, hey, there's a
Mhm.
bigger force out there.
Yes,
Uh,
absolutely.
Now,
Mhm.
you didn't speak the language, obviously, of all the people. I'm assuming you might speak. Do you speak a foreign language?
Spanish badly.
Okay.
They technically speak English in Sierra Leone. I say technically because it's a combination of a local dialect and English. It's like a pidgin, um, and so we would be translated. When I spoke, when I taught, when I did leadership training for hundreds of people from the community, I was translated. And it's funny because I could understand the translator because they were basically speaking a version of English. But if I tried to do it without a translator, people just look at me like I got four heads. I don't understand a thing you're saying, Christy. So that was fun.
Okay, we're getting ready to go to a commercial break here, about a minute, minute and a half. And when we come back, one of the topics you wanted to touch on today was racial reconciliation. So when we come
Yes.
back, let's go down that road for a little while, and then we'll get into your books. So uh, we'll catch you here in just a moment.
What if one simple skill could change the way you connect with the world? What if listening could open doors to deeper relationships, stronger businesses, and a better you? Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, the Listening Mentor, brings you USA Global TV and Radio, a space where voices are heard, ideas are shared, and global communities thrive. Through the Elevated Listeners courses and books, you'll master the power of listening, set boundaries with confidence, and transform conversations into opportunities. Join us. Listen, learn, elevate. Whether you're a leader, a coach, a business owner, or someone seeking stronger connections, your journey starts today. Subscribe, learn, and transform today.
Howdy, y'all. Red O'Loughlin here. We're on the Wise Ones on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. Today, my guest is CC Robinson. CC, please join me back up here on stage. I appreciate that.
Hey there.
Okay, we said before the break we'd like to go down the road of racial
Mhm.
reconciliation. It's a topic that you want to make sure we actually touched on today. So please,
Yes.
I'm going to turn the stage over to you. Let's talk about that for a couple of minutes.
So when I look at our nation right now, I'm from the United States, and I know this has global listeners and watchers, but one of the biggest issues I see is division and hatred among ethnicities. And, I've been in Civil War, post-Civil War nations where I've watched tribes fight each other. And you could say this is ethnic and racially motivated. It's been, throughout the history of the earth. But really, when I was in Sierra Leone, I saw the impact of that racial hatred over 30 years of civil war. And I just wonder, is there a better way that we can be relating with each other here in the United States to avoid what Sierra Leone and other nations have experienced before? And it takes work. And I think that's what makes it so hard for most people, is it takes stepping out of your comfort zone. It takes encountering people who don't look like you, who don't think like you, who don't vote like you, and having conversations around tables instead of just yelling on social media over rows. And so that's my whole motivation for the Divided series. And what I'm hoping to inspire in young people today is doing that hard work of cross-cultural relationships and communication.
Okay, so it's your firsthand knowledge of what you've seen and what can happen that's also been imbued into the books that you have.
Yes.
But when you start looking, whether it's a cultural issue, a racial issue, a religious issue, I mean, we have so many different ways, political, we have so many different ways of separating ourselves. And when we try to establish a relationship, part of that hinges initially on trust. And I remember I was in, hang on 1 second, I'll come there. One of those age-related things that periodically creeps up, but I was in Bosnia, and one of the things that I noticed, and we talked about it, it was the fact that you have a lot of elderly and a lot of young children because the middle population is gone. And when I'm in there, they have a R2D2 unit that basically that's the broadcast media center for the entire. So they have radio, TV going on. They concentrate on a lot of things. But talking to people there, and it was interesting that the parents left. The grandparents now are inculcating the grandkids with those dirty, nasty, whoever back in 66 or 933 or they're and they say it's going to take 2 generations to get over that bitterness, that hatred that's been literally bred into each generation. And when I started thinking about it, that's probably true, because it does take a long time to get through that. And so you have a lot of stuff, as you say, a 30-year civil war, a lot of atrocities, a lot of deprivation, a lot of everything that is not good for anyone. And yet I'm going to trust, I'm going to forgive. That's that's hard even just to write about.
Yes. I'm not saying this is easy. In fact, the default, not trusting, not relating, not stepping out of your comfort zone, that's the easy thing. But easy doesn't get us the results that I think we all want. And I don't think there's one of us in the United States right now that wants to see our nation go through a civil war. You ask people, like maybe there's some fringe on the ends of each spectrum that are wanting civil war, but most Americans don't. But if we don't do something other than our default, that's where we're headed.
Okay, well, that sounds like one last question on Africa and other places. I remember reading, it says you set up leadership development for emerging nations. Tell us a little bit about that before we get into your authors and books.
Yeah. So one of the biggest things we noticed in Sierra Leone that we had a generation that had a frame of mind to hate another ethnicity, just like what you're saying in Bosnia. And if we were going to see this adult generation rebuild their nation, their communities, we needed to hit with some training and hit some of those key points. And so we implemented John Maxwell's Equip training. It is a 6-part series with 6 lessons each series. And your ticket to the next presentation by the Americans is you need to train 10 people in what you learned the last time. And so what we saw was a flywheel exponential impact there. We started out with 12 very skeptical leaders. And I remember one woman in particular said, I can't do this, meaning I can't forgive. I can't see these people as anything but what I've been seeing them for my whole life. She was about 30, so she'd known nothing other than civil war in her life. And by the end, she had not only reframed her vision of other people, she had trained, the number was astounding. It was over 100 other people in the content, and was out of the country because she was off teaching it in another country at our last session. So I have seen the impact of what challenging some of our own assumptions, even those beliefs that we hold so close to ourselves that we can't imagine ourselves without them. I've seen the impact of that over the long term, and it's absolutely exponential impact.
I have one word. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That was worth the price of admission today, basically. that was because you're not talking about logistics, and you're not talking about equipment and buying, and you're talking about training, and you're talking about something that is relatively free. It's not free because there's a lot of time and energy involved, but the payback is so much greater than one would even hope for in some days, I bet you.
Yes. And now, like, I have the privilege of knowing some of the most amazing leaders on the face of the earth. That's it.
So you took your experiences and you put them into this young adult dystopian world. Tell us, how did that really develop into the printed word, into the book?
I never intended on being a fiction author, y'all. 2012, everyone, Obama's president. We think we're post-racial in the United States. Spoiler alert, we're not. And Trayvon Martin is killed. About a week later, I have an all-night dream where I see our nation in that civil war that I've described, that Sierra Leone had, that other nations have had, where ethnicity is fighting against ethnicity and our nation is destroyed. And I see a drug lord who becomes a dictator take over power and divide us into our ethnic groups, putting up walls. We don't interact for 45 years. I wake up and I'm like, what is going on? Are you kidding me? I felt like this is going to happen tomorrow. That's kind of the feeling I had when I woke up. I don't know how, but I went back to sleep. And when I went back to sleep, I then met my 4 main characters, Marcos, Rose, Harriet, and Jason. And I saw them having grown up under this dystopian regime, separated from each other, but yearning for understanding, yearning to relate across their cultures, yearning for freedom. And then I saw the underground resistance movement. And that's when it just birthed in my mind this idea for the entire series. I started sketching things out. I didn't know how to write fiction, so I had to learn that. Like, just a lot of time. That was 2012. I didn't publish the first book until 2024. So 12 years of research, interviews, learning, figuring it out, writing, rewriting, and now it's out in the world.
You've published a lot of stuff just in a couple of years then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Divided was your first book in this 4-book
Yep.
series that you're planning?
Yep. That's my baby. Divided.
Now, one of the things I noticed that I really want to compliment you on, because I had not seen it before, maybe it's there, I just not privy to everything. But in your blog, you actually do the backstory on your characters.
Yes.
Which, wow. Because most of the time we never know a backstory.
Yeah. I'll be perfectly honest, that's selfish, because I need the backstory to get to know my characters. That's how I kind of get to know them. And I put them all when they're about 8. And I feel like that's a great time in a kid's life to get to know who they are. And so I love those little vignettes I've written, and they're fun, but they're really for me. I just share them with the world because why not?
Okay, so you have your characters, and they're the same characters in all your books, right?
Yes, same 4.
And you haven't killed any of them off yet.
No.
Okay.
No. Okay, so other people die.
Okay.
But no. Yeah, so this is Divided, and then the newest one out is Caged. This is Rose's book. She's my angry teenager. Gotta love her. Angsty. But no, it's about survival, hope, courage, and survival in the face of impossible odds.
Now, something I noticed when I was looking at your book covers on Deception, I think it was.
Yes.
It said book 1.5 in the 4-book series or something like that.
This is book 1.5. So there's it's itty bitty, see? Not much commitment, right? So I have an entire novella series that accompanies the main series of Divided and Caged, and then Betrayed and United will be the last 2 books in those series. But yes, there'll be 4 novellas as well as 4 novels.
That was Grab Bag, a novella for one of the books?
No, Grab Bag is an actual local anthology with different authors, sci-fi fantasy authors here in Cincinnati.
Okay.
Just a fun little piece in there. I've just got a fun little piece.
So what do you enjoy reading?
Yes, I love reading dystopian and post-apocalyptic. That is probably 85 to 90% of what I read. Others is nonfiction, whether it's self-improvement. I'm kind of on an Enneagram kick right now. Or if it's in an author space, I read a lot of those too. So that's the bulk of what I read.
Editing. How long does it take you to get your books edited?
Ages and ages and ages. I wish there were an easy button for editing. So I do use a developmental editor, and we work together. We collaborate, and then I do a revised draft, and that goes to a copy editor. We collaborate, and then I revise that draft, and then I start listening. I've really found that I need to listen to my books, that errors pop out when I listen. And then my daughter and my husband are exceptional proofreaders. And that's about the time it's also going to my advanced reader team. So there's layers and layers of edits. I feel like I do about 15 passes of edits.
What program do you use to listen to your books?
Currently, it's Natural Reader. I bought the annual subscription, and now I'm even listening to blog posts and articles and other nonfiction books on it. I'm kind of become obsessive with it.
There's a free version on Word, Microsoft Word, that I use a lot for my stuff. And I find it to be very, very, very helpful. Do you use AI at all for anything?
Only for marketing. And I've only just barely dipped my toe in there. I've been cautious for a lot of reasons. I was a little upset when I found out Upheaval was used to train a few AI large language models. And so, of course, anger is my go-to emotion. So I had to get over that. I had to forgive. and get past that. And so now I'm dipping my toes in using AI for social media content, not necessarily the images, more the captions and the description, as well as reframing my website. That's it, though.
Okay. How about marketing?
Yeah. So that's marketing for me, is social media. I don't use it in my newsletter writing or really anything else in marketing. In the marketing area, it's really just social media.
Okay. Before we get ready to wrap it up, cover design. How do you do those?
I work with a graphic designer. So I happen to use 100 covers and they've been exceptional. I really love working with them, very responsive. They do all the formats and they accept my like 1,000 changes. I feel like I'm like, no, adjust this, adjust this. I don't like this. Can we make it lighter? Can we make it darker? Like I'll contradict myself 4 times. And they're really good about working with me on that, but they've been exceptional. And they don't use AI for me. There's no AI in my covers.
Any plan for audiobooks or foreign languages?
Yes, audiobooks. I actually am trying to schedule a meeting with my 2 narrators. They're local here to Cincinnati, the voice actors, and a sound engineer to plan out Upheaval. So it'll be hopefully 2026. That's the plan for Upheaval and Divided, and then we'll just see, because they're launches in and of themselves, and so I'm only one person, so we'll see.
How do people buy your books? How do they get in touch with you?
The ebooks are only on Amazon. So you got to go to Amazon to get an ebook. If you want a paperback, they're at retailers worldwide. The links are on my website, ccrobinsonauthor.com. And I have a special offer for this audience. If you sign up for my newsletter, you can get this little baby in ebook format, Upheaval, in ebook format for free.
We have an audio audience after the live broadcast is over. So for that audience, CC, just the 2 letters, CC, Robinson, ROBIN, like Robinson, SON, author, AUTHOR.com. So CC, RobinsonAuthor.com. And so that's where you get her website. And CC, I had an absolutely marvelous time today chatting with you. I would just love to sit here and ask you lots of questions. So I hope that we can connect again in the future and go down several other roads we didn't touch today.
Absolutely. And I have a feeling you might be a fun guest to interview as well.
If you have something out there, get in touch with me. I would love to.
Absolutely.
So anyway, take care and we'll catch you later on.
Thanks, Fred.
Bye now. That was just an absolutely marvelous time today. CC, thank you so very much. The next show is the last of my 3 shows I do on Thursdays, and it's called Talking Heads. I usually talk about some aspect of health and wellness, usually some aspect, focus on aging or an age-related disease like Alzheimer's or something. But lately I've been talking about some of the other things I've been interested in, writing books, publishing books, and today I'm talking about speaking. It's an area that we do all the time, but it's not something that we have a lot of skill in unless you join an organization like Toastmasters or some of the local one. Sometimes there's programs available at community centers and other places, but in reality, it's a skill we have because we talk all the time. But the public aspect of being able to stand up in front of 30 or 300 people and speak, get a message out, inspire, motivate, whatever your focus is. It may just be telling a story. I did a program on Talking Heads recently about the Camino de Santiago, and it was like 70 or 80 slides of pictures I took of the roads that my wife and I walked over in Spain for 500 miles. But that was more of a story presentation as opposed to me talking about the causes and pathways for how Alzheimer's develops in the brain and what natural options might be available to help offset that. But today, speaking, and there's a lot of different ways you can open a speech. There's a lot of different ways you can close it. And in between, that's the content. And reading something, having this piece of paper up in front of you is not the way to read a speech. You don't put a piece of paper on the podium and start reading. But we're going to talk about what we can do to improve our personal ability to speak. And that's what I welcome you to join Talking Heads later today. Take care, y'all. Bye now.
Get ready to wear the brand that's changing the world of media. Introducing the official USA Global TV and Radio online store. From our TV show hosts to our incredible global guests, you asked, we delivered. Rep your appearance with pride. Whether you've been on air, hosted a show, or tuned in, we have something just for you. Visit us at usaglobaltvradioshoп.myspreadshop.com and start shopping today. Check back frequently. We're dropping fresh new designs all the time. Showcase your role in our global community. These designs celebrate your voice, your story, your presence. It's more than just merchandise. It's a movement of hope, inspiration, education, and elevated listening. Head to usaglobaltvradioshoп.myspreadshop.com. Your spotlight awaits. USA Global TV and Radio. Elevate your style. Elevate the world.
From the magical world of the amazing adventures of Lady Ella comes a heartwarming new journey filled with kindness, courage, and compassion. Lady Ella, the beloved ladybug and listening mentor, is back, and this time she is not alone. Meet her brave and thoughtful brother, Lord Jack. Together, they take flight on their very first kindness adventure. Along the way, they meet 3 new friends in need: a duck feeling discouraged, a mouse struggling to be understood, and a busy little bee who's completely lost. But with the power of elevated listening and simple acts of kindness, Lady Ella and Lord Jack show us how understanding and empathy can make the biggest difference in someone's day. Written by Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, the listening mentor, this 9th book in the best-selling Lady Ella series teaches children ages 5 to 10 the essential skills of listening, kindness, and etiquette. Now available for pre-order on Amazon. Scan the QR code and order your copy today.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA-Global-TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dies. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.